and welcome. This is Gravitas. My name is Priyanka Sharma and here's what's coming up tonight. Where is Qin? It's a question the world has been asking. Well, guess what? We know where he's not anymore, and that is at the helm of foreign affairs in China. Wang Yi has returned. He's back as the foreign minister of the country, a very important job at a time when China needs to pick its allies and enemies very carefully. Remember, the world's two biggest economies, the US and China, are at odds. The Ukraine war, Beijing's ties to Moscow, trade and technology disputes, Taiwan. Wang Yi, the wolf warrior, will have his hands full. But on the show tonight, we're not going to talk about Wang's challenges. On Gravitas tonight, we'll get you the real story about Wang's return. Just think, what could have gone so wrong that a crucial Politburo meeting was held ahead of schedule? This doesn't happen every day in China. So I ask tonight, is it a snub to the all-powerful Xi? Is Xi Jinping losing his grip on power? That's our cover story tonight. Also on the show, I have some dire warnings for all of you, unfortunately. What are your children being exposed to? From dangerous metals which could derail their growth to deadly batteries which could kill them. I'll tell you why. It's high time we return to simpler times. Everyone loves a selfie, even when there are flood warnings, even when there is a hurricane, even when there is a train hurtling towards them. Stop taking selfies because no one looks good when they're dead. And if that selfie doesn't kill you, climate change will. Look around you. People are getting burned by simply falling on the ground. This is not a heat wave anymore. All coming up on the show. There was a political tremor in Beijing today. Within 7 months, the foreign minister of the country has been sacked twice. On the 30th of December, the veteran Wang Yi was suddenly dropped. Wang Yi was a man who gave an uncharacteristic, aggressive twist to Chinese diplomacy, turning his bureaucrats into wolf warriors. Yes, wolves. He clearly liked a bit of blood in his policies. Wang Yi did not go quietly, however. He had to be accommodated in a party position as director of the Office of the Central Foreign Affairs Commission, from where he was permitted occasionally to foray into international affairs. For instance, when he met President Putin in Moscow. But it was clear that Wang Yi was seething with rage within, although he kept a straight face. In his place came the former Chinese ambassador to Washington, the calm and pleasant-looking Qin. It seemed a clear signal from the man who made the changes. President Xi Jinping, the leader who is believed to have more power in Beijing than anyone since Mao Zedong, after he gave himself an unprecedented third term. The signal was less wolf, more work. The new foreign minister delivered spectacularly, particularly by brokering a stunning détente between Saudi Arabia and Tehran that shocked Washington. And then suddenly, Qin, the new 57-year-old foreign minister, went missing. Yes, missing. Around 31 days ago, and he has not been seen since. I can't think of another foreign minister of a major nation who has gone missing like this. One who has simply disappeared. One day in office, the next day disappeared into thin air. It was something right out of a blockbuster suspense thriller. I can't think of another foreign minister of such a nation who has simply gone missing. Can you? So let's decode what exactly happened. Where exactly is the man? Is he sick? Is he in prison? What was his crime? Very quickly, his place was filled by Wang Yi, who began to go to meetings of foreign ministers, summits, and even conferences of NSAs. And as for Qingang, the rumor mill has gone into overdrive. Of course, there is much speculation that the reason is a love affair with a Cambridge-educated reporter and TV personality called Fu Shaoxian. She is an international celebrity of sorts, the host of a talk show on China's Phoenix TV. Curiously, or rather not so curiously, she too has been missing for weeks now. Interestingly, right before she disappeared, Fu Shaoxian shared pictures of a jet, a screenshot of her interview with Qin, and a picture of her son. So what was all this about? This is another mystery. In any case, the decision to bring Wang back was taken at a much-awaited meeting in Beijing, a meeting of the Chinese Communist Party's Politburo. Now let me explain. For the unversed, the Politburo is the decision-making body of the CCP, led naturally by Xi Jinping himself. It comprises 24 top officials who oversee the central government. And they are the ones who decide the party's agenda and therefore the government's policies. Remember, the party is the real authority in China, not the government. Even the National Army, the PLA, owes allegiance to the party, not to the country. So yesterday, what happened? The Politburo assembled in Beijing. The official agenda included the economy, which of course, as we've been reporting, has been in trouble to say the least. The aim, they said, was to present counter-cyclical measures, adjust and expand policies for the country's economy. China's governance is run on a rather staid and predictable timetable, but this particular Politburo meeting was called ahead. It was preponed. Why? The answer seems to be both political and economical. Of course, China's economy is in great trouble. GDP growth has all but slowed down. The pillars of growth, like the property industry, have been incurring massive losses. Banks are on the edge. Unemployment among the youth specifically is running at unprecedented levels. Chinese provinces are sinking under debt. And if we speak of investment in property development, which is a vital driver of both industrial and consumer demand, it sank 7.9% in the first half of the year compared to a year earlier. And analysts say that this is a rather troubling sign of persisting weakness in the industry. It's cause for worry for China, especially its leader. But that is not the big story. The needle of suspicion has now moved in another direction. A question is being asked. Has Xi Jinping begun to slip? Let that sink in. For days, reports have been circulating about differences within the CCP. And at the crux of these claims is the fact that thousands of people around the world have renounced their affiliation with the CCP, its regiments and associated organizations included. So does the return of Wang Yi mean that his enemies within the Politburo and in the party have taken advantage of a fault line to snub the so far all-powerful Xi? Talk is rife of differences within the CCP as well. Worse, the party is feeling humiliated by the fact that thousands of its members are actually leaving the Chinese Communist Party, where once membership was prized and difficult to get because it meant entry into the country's most elite and powerful club. Back to my big question. Does the return of Wang Yi mean that the days of Xi's virtual dictatorship are now over? No definitive answers yet, but the politics of Beijing has suddenly become that much more provocative. We'll, of course, stay on top of it. Will a new foreign minister or getting the old one back fix China's many diplomatic disputes? Breaking news, it will not. Did you know no country has more neighbors than China? It has 22,800 kilometers of land border. Let's break it down. China shares its borders with 14 countries. All eight of its maritime borders are disputed. China also has land disputes with almost all of its neighbors. Quite a stellar record, isn't it? China has been involved in 23 territorial disputes since 1949. Also, numerous flare-ups. Could there be any more? And what does this question mean for China's neighbors? India. India recently gifted Vietnam a fully operational warship, the INS Kirpan. The vessel served the Indian Navy for 32 years. It was commissioned in 1991. The ship is 90 meters long and 10.45 meters in width. The INS Kirpan has been an integral part of the Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet and was manned by around 12 officers and 100 sailors. So like I mentioned before, the INS Kirpan is still very much in active use, which makes this gift a first. Never before has India handed over a fully operational corvette to a foreign country. So why now? Chinese expansionism, Chinese aggression, Chinese territorial ambitions, and the rise of the Chinese Navy as an undisputed player in the security dynamics of the region, none of which is in favor of Vietnam or any of China's neighbors as of now. In 2022, India gave Vietnam 12 high-speed patrol guard boats. India helped establish Vietnam's army software park. Can you see what all this is aimed at? Towards strengthening Vietnam's defense, towards peacekeeping and creating a template where neighbors help each other out. China claims large parts of Vietnam. This includes the Paracel Islands and the Spratly Islands. Vietnam says it has ruled over both of these islands since the 17th century. China points at a historic map which regards everything within the 9-dash line as Chinese, both land and maritime. But this, as usual, is the Chinese version of reality. And Beijing will not listen to anything that sounds different. It also won't abide by any international law that isn't aligned to the Chinese version of alternate reality. What else explains the fact that China believes it is absolutely okay to encroach? There's no other word for it. Encroach into another country's EEZ, or exclusive economic zone. Earlier this year, a Chinese research vessel was found squatting on Vietnam's EEZ. The vessel wasn't alone. It had an escort boat as well. When Vietnam objected to Chinese encroachment, the Foreign Ministry of China said China was well within its jurisdiction and that its activity was legitimate and proper. I wonder how China defines these two words. Vietnam isn't the only country that China has disputes with. China claims all of Taiwan, and this claim is purely based on historical grounds. China has a dispute with the Philippines over the Scarborough Reef and the Spratly Islands. The Scarborough Reef is near where a Chinese Coast Guard recently lasered a Philippine Coast Guard vessel. China is fighting Indonesia over the Natuna Islands. It is also in a tussle with Malaysia over the Spratly Islands. China is fighting Japan over the Senkaku Islands and the Ryukyu Islands as well. South Korea over the Socotra Rock. That also lies within South Korea's EEZ, but China will not give up its claim on the rock. And then you have Singapore. China has managed to tick off the island nation with an increased PLA presence in the South China Sea. The tiny country, Brunei, China is fighting it too. Over what now? Spratly Islands. China is also engaged in a conflict with North Korea. It claims North Korea's Mount Baekdu and Mount Jiantao. And why stop at just two peaks when you can claim all of North Korea? There was a time when China did just that. And mind you, North Korea isn't the only friend that China is going after. There is Russia too. China claims a large chunk of Russian land, also large chunks of Bhutanese land. China's Communist Party believes that large parts of Laos also belong to China. Remember, Beijing claims all of Tibet, all of Mongolia. Most of you already know about China's aggression in the Himalayas. Beijing has engaged India in a standoff in Ladakh. It also claims parts of Arunachal Pradesh. In fact, India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval recently told China's now Foreign Minister Wang Yi that the standoff in Ladakh has eroded all strategic trust between the two countries. This was during the meetings of the NSAs of the BRICS grouping. China's aggressive posturing has been a cause of concern for a while now, both in the Himalayas and in the seas. In November 2012, when Chinese President Hu Jintao declared that China's objective is to be a Haiyang Quangshu, meaning a strong maritime power. Later, Xi Jinping spoke about a country that will rise if it commands the oceans as well. And under Xi, the PLA has been modernized. So has the Navy. Why? To keep China's territorial ambitions alive. So, will a new foreign minister or getting the old one back fix China's problematic diplomacy? Or will it rather deepen the crisis? My next story is a warning. It's a cautionary tale. Not just for you, not just for your family and friends, but for me as well. If you're a parent, you need to sit up and pay attention. Why? Because it involves our children. We want to give our children the best of everything, the best of clothes, the best of education, the best of experiences, and of course, the best of toys. As parents, we're easily influenced. We look up the latest baby soothing hack on Instagram, we try it on our kids. We find an item or trick which claims to distract a cranky toddler. We click now and add to cart without a moment's thought. A recipe or trend to keep your kids safe from the flu season? We try it without even consulting the pediatrician. But what if these trends, these hacks, these innocent little baby toys and accessories prove deadly for your child? Take a look at this headline. More than 300,000 children's cups recalled due to high lead levels. This happened in America, the developed first world as we call it. A regulated market with guidelines in place, I would assume and hope. Sadly, that is not the case. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has recalled baby cups. Parents have been advised to take these cups away from their kids immediately. These are children's cups we're talking about. They use it daily to drink water, juice, milk. They're part of essentials, as marketeers would tell you. They were sold on Amazon, manufactured in China, easily available just a click away. And they contained lead, a metal. In fact, much more than the permissible amount of lead. Now, let me reiterate, health bodies across the globe have emphasized that there is no safe level of lead exposure for children. It's dangerous, no matter in what quantity you add them. For instance, the CDC says lead exposure in children can lead to brain damage. It can hamper a child's growth and development. It can cause learning and behavior issues. And yet, lead is found in baby cups. Luckily, in this particular case, no injuries were reported. But it gets worse. Look at this headline now. If you have a child, you've probably heard of Baby Shark. In June this year, one toy maker had to recall 7.5 million toys. These were Baby Shark bath toys. We all probably have some version of these toys lying around in our homes. So what happened? Well, disturbing reports emerged. Reports of children suffering impalement injuries, lacerations, puncture wounds after they fell or sat on these toys. Reports say there were toy-related injuries to children's genital and facial areas. Some children had to get stitches. Imagine that, all because of a bath toy. And who can forget about button batteries? They're found everywhere. Watches, weighing scales, remote controls, and of course, toys. They're tiny and shiny, and for young kids, they're eye-catching. But for the same kids, they're deadly. You see, if the child swallows that tiny battery, they come in contact with the saliva and generate a current. This in turn produces a corrosive chemical, and this can burn right through your child's throat. They may never be able to eat and drink properly again. These button batteries can cause irreparable harm and even death. Walk into a toy shop right now. Ask for a toy without a button battery. You wouldn't have that much to choose from. Now that I've told you how dangerous and deadly these toys and accessories are, I have to ask, why are they hiding in plain sight? Why are they so easily available? Why are they being marketed without any word of caution? And I don't mean that little warning scribbled on the toy box. That's just the company washing its hands off any liability. These are children's lives they're playing with. And all this is happening in a regulated market. Imagine the deadly dangers lurking in unregulated markets. What are children being exposed to there? Deadly batteries inside innocent-looking toys, cups containing a dangerous metal, bath toys which can lead to grave injuries. How is this happening? Maybe we need to reassess what we're exposing our kids to. We're substituting playtime with screen time. We're buying shiny toys with deadly batteries to engage children, handing them a smartphone instead of a ball to kick around. What happened to ancient wisdom? When we spoke to our kids, taught them how to ride a bike, bonded with them with our own anecdotes instead of Alexa or Google. Maybe it's time to learn from our past, to remember a time forgotten when our grandmothers made us drink from copper vessels instead of deadly lead-laden sippers. When we were advised to play in mud and not worry about bringing the dirt home. And now science even says mud is good for kids. In fact, research says it's crucial for them to play in mud, especially outdoors, to hit their developmental milestones. So my advice is ditch the killer toys, send your kid outside, let them get dirty in the mud. Because from the looks of these headlines, indoor play can be deadly. Let's move on now. You must have heard and seen supersonic fighter jets, jets which are faster than the speed of sound. What if you got to fly in one? Yes, that will soon become a reality. NASA is going to test its first supersonic commercial flight. This will open a whole new chapter in ultra-fast air travel. Reports say that by 2033, a 22-hour flight from London to Sydney could be reduced to just 2 hours. How fast will this supersonic flight be? How will passengers face the sonic boom? Our next report has all the details. Take a look.
The aviation industry is set to enter an era of ultra-fast air travel. NASA's supersonic aircraft, the X-59, also known as Son of Concorde, is set for its first test flight. The X-59 will not only reduce the travel time for passengers, it will also give them an experience of traveling faster than the speed of sound and let them witness how a fighter jet pilot feels during flight. The suborbital flights will use rockets similar to Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin. The flights will travel at speeds of over 5,500 kilometers per hour. What are the other specifications of the X-59? The supersonic aircraft is a single-seater. It's just over 30 meters long. The flight has a hard-swept wingspan of 9 meters and will reach a cruising speed of Mach 1.4. The X-59 also has a special feature called the quiet supersonic technology. The tech may solve one of the biggest problems in supersonic air travel, the sonic boom. What is a sonic boom? An aircraft experiences a sonic boom when the flight breaks the sound barrier. Trained pilots like fighter pilots are used to this and can adjust to it, but it causes a big problem for civilian passengers. The boom is problematic because breaking the speed of sound builds high waves of pressure. Passengers are not used to the force and the loud sound of the boom. NASA says that the X-59's quiet supersonic technology will reduce the loud sonic boom. It is designed to turn the sonic boom into a mere sonic thump. So why is the X-59 also known as Son of Concorde? The name comes from the world's fastest commercial aircraft called Concorde. The Concorde was introduced over 20 years ago, but was discontinued after an accident in the year 2000. The flight was flying from Paris to New York but crashed shortly after takeoff. Reports say a fuel leak led to a fire on one of the engines and the wing. The incident killed 109 passengers and 4 people on the ground. Investigators said there were critical design flaws in the Concorde's fuel tanks and safety measures. In the wake of the disaster, the entire Concorde fleet was grounded. But the Son of Concorde may mark a comeback of supersonic commercial flights. Will the X-59 truly bring back the trend of supersonic flights? Will the Son of Concorde not repeat the mistakes of its predecessor?
Our next story is from Belarus. Is it preparing to join the Russia-Ukraine war? I ask this question because of a recent decision by Minsk. A decision to arm its Ministry of Emergency Situation. Look at this report. The Belarusian Ministry of Emergency Situations is completing the arming and military training of its personnel. Why? So that they're ready to aid the defense and internal ministries in the event of a conflict. The announcement was made by Vadim Sinyavsky, the emergency minister of Belarus. This is what he apparently told a state news network. All employees will be ready to assist the ministries in the event of an armed conflict or some kind of riots in which a significant number of personnel must be involved. What made him say this? What conflict was he referring to, and what does he mean by a significant number of personnel? Is this an admission that Belarus is indeed joining the war in Ukraine? It helps to look at some recent developments. Earlier this year, the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, said that he wants every man to be able to at least handle weapons so that the country could respond to a future act of aggression. Since then, Lukashenko has also frequently met with Vladimir Putin. In fact, as I speak, he's on a 2-day visit to Moscow to talk about bilateral strategic partnership. Interestingly, he was even seen visiting a monastery complex with Putin in northern Russia. So what did the two leaders discuss after this? We shall never really know. But a few days before this meeting, Putin delivered a televised address accusing Poland of having territorial ambitions in the former Soviet Union. He further added that any aggression against Belarus will be considered aggression against Russia. He added that Western Polish territories are Stalin's gift to Poland. Listen to this.
In 1939, Poland was abandoned by its Western allies, was thrown to the German war machine, and formally lost its independence and statehood, which were restored in large parts thanks to the Soviet Union. It was thanks to the Soviet Union, thanks to steps taken by Stalin, Poland got substantial territories in the West, the German land. This is a fact. Western Polish territories are Stalin's gift to Poland. Have our friends in Warsaw forgotten about it? We'll give them a reminder.
A day before Putin made these remarks, this video emerged. It shows Wagner mercenaries training Belarusian special forces at a military range, just a few miles from the border with NATO member Poland. The images were posted by Belarusian officials themselves. They show masked Wagner instructors training soldiers with armored vehicles and what appear to be drone controls. The timing of this video was interesting too. It was released on the same day when the Kremlin issued a statement saying that Russia is concerned about Poland's decision to move troops near the Belarusian border. It called the actions aggressive and hostile, which called for increased attention. So now you have Belarus arming its emergency ministry, asking it to be ready for war. What's cooking? What are Russia and Belarus up to? Is Poland going to be Moscow's next target? A few days ago on Gravitas, we told you about a killer trend. The trend of selfies that can get you killed, aka killfies. The terror continues. In the quest of making an Instagram reel, another Indian man has gone missing. Take a look at this video. Did you see what happened? The video is from the South Indian state of Karnataka at the Arasina Gundi waterfalls. A 23-year-old man named Sharat Kumar was posting for an Instagram reel. In the video, you can see him standing on a rock overlooking the raging waterfall. Kumar then loses his balance and falls into the river. Within seconds, he is engulfed by the roaring waves. A rescue operation is underway. Kumar hasn't been found yet, but his video has surely gone viral on the internet. Something that he might have wished for when he got on that rock to shoot that very reel. Of what use is it now? Was it worth the risk? At the end, it has become a lesson for netizens of what not to do. For the sensible ones at least. For others, unfortunately, it will continue to be a gamble for their lives, just for Insta-worthy clicks. Remember this lady. I told you about her only about a week ago. She was swept away by the waves at Bandstand in Mumbai, while she was posing for pictures with her husband. You see, India is being called the selfie capital of the world. It has been for a few years now. Half of the selfie deaths reported around the world occurred in India. Those occurring in other countries are equally unfortunate. In 2019, this Oregon State University student fell to her death. She was trying to click a picture near a mountain when she stepped over a retaining wall and completely slipped. Then there was this Russian man. Back in 2017, he pulled the pin out of a hand grenade. Why? To post photographs of himself holding it. A few moments later, he was torn to pieces by this very grenade. Do you know what the tragic part is? These selfies are easily prevented, and yet hundreds of people lose their lives to them every year. Why are selfie deaths becoming so common? Experts link them to two factors. Number one, the novelty of smartphone technology. You see, India has one of the world's highest smartphone penetration rates. Little over 1 billion Indians stay glued to their phones. Number two, socio-cultural regions. This could be a desire to fit in or to look superior and more relatable on social media, to grab attention, eyeballs, and knock our followers' socks off. Selfies are a rather unique way to express oneself. Likes and comments on social media satisfy one's need for validation. It's a vanity project. You may be guilty of it yourself. Am I calling you out? We are living in the age of social media addiction, of mindless doom scrolling, of wanting material things that we see on the internet, of trying to imitate the lifestyles of others. And selfies are the easiest way for us to connect with those we see online, to get the attention that we crave. So we take out our selfie sticks and go on a quest to click the perfect picture. By all means, do it if it makes you happy, but not at the cost of your life. A mediocre shot is enough if it keeps you safe. Your wanderlust, adventurous and borderline life-threatening pictures may get you more likes. Your vanity project may even be a huge PR success, but let me tell you, you won't look good once you're dead. So what is the solution? What is India doing about this selfie problem? The government has stepped up efforts to combat this hazard. Several dangerous tourist sites have been declared as no selfie zones. Imagine that. Campaigns have been launched prompting people about the perils of reckless selfie clicking. The Central Railways has been tweeting #selfie safety tips. In fact, back in 2021, a professor at the Indraprastha Institute of Information Technology in Delhi created a safety app for selfies. This is the developer of the app, Safety. The app alerts people on selfie locations that have been flagged as dangerous. It analyzes pictures using deep learning techniques and warns the users of a selfie threat. I can't believe I have to say these, but these are some preventive measures that have been taken by authorities to stop you from getting killed by taking a picture. But they are not of much use until you are cautious yourself. I'll tell you once again, click selfies, but don't get killed. Also, don't kill others, which is a reminder some drivers desperately need. Let me tell you the story of one Tathya Patel. Like you might have guessed from his name, he is an Indian. Tathya is all of 19 years old, and he has killed 9 people. It happened on the 20th of July. Tathya and his friends decided to go on a joyride in Ahmedabad. It was pouring cats and dogs, not the perfect weather to venture out, let alone go on a scenic drive. But Tathya did so anyway. He took out his fancy Jaguar, and within minutes he was cruising at more than 100 kilometers per hour. The 19-year-old was not alone. There were 3 girls and another boy accompanying him. Also, there was booming loud music, and the teens were tickling each other. At one point, the car was on a rain-soaked flyover. Its permissible speed limit was just 40 kilometers per hour. But this 19-year-old didn't bother to slow down. His car was now cruising well over 140 kilometers per hour. The teenager's friends asked him to slow down, but he did not. And somewhere in the middle of the death ride, Tathya lost control of the car and crashed into a group of people. 9 people were crushed to death. 13 others were injured. Tathya was arrested, but little did the cops know that the accident that night was just the tip of a chilling iceberg. Turns out, this wasn't Tathya's first accident. On the 3rd of July, Tathya had crashed a Thar into a restaurant wall back then too. The teen was overspeeding. He was driving dangerously, and guess what? The cops were never informed about this accident. Do you know why? Because this boy paid off the hotel management. He bought the manager's silence. He could afford to do that, you see. The teen comes from a wealthy family. On scanning CCTV footage, cops realized that Tathya would often speed around the city in different high-end cars. In fact, he jumped red lights 5 times in a month and violated the speed limit 25 times. This is as per reports. Tathya would drive at 120 and 140 kilometers per hour within the city. He had a reputation for overspending. Perhaps he liked being the dangerous driver in his social circle. I wouldn't be surprised. This boy, after all, is a teenager. But the question is, how did he go scot-free for so long? Why was this teenager allowed to become a deadly driver and then allowed to drive freely on roads, risking thousands of lives? Whom do you blame? His parents, who handed him a luxury vehicle, one luxury vehicle after another, in fact. He crashes one car and then gets another luxury car to drive. Are we rewarding dangerous driving now, or are we normalizing it? Do you blame the cops, the traffic police, who somehow never managed to stop Tathya from overspeeding or breaking traffic rules in the first place? Turns out the boy never received a challan, an e-challan, for his traffic violations. Were the speed guns on the road not working, or do they not capture vehicles that scream cash? Because it's not like India does not have rules in place. It does. In India, overspeeding comes with a penalty of up to 4,000 rupees. And this is for first-timers. A second instance of overspeeding means your driving license is taken away. And like I mentioned, in just a matter of 30 days, this boy, Tathya, had violated the speed limit 25 times. In India, even a single case of rash driving can result in imprisonment up to 1 year. A second instance can land you in jail for up to 2 years. Did this rule not apply to Tathya? Why? How else did he evade the radar? Was it because he came from a wealthy family? Have we started making exceptions for brats? There's no other words. For brats who are drunk on power and privilege, because you will agree with me when I say this, that every day we meet many Tathyas on the road. They are driving rash, overspeeding. It is not unusual to spot an underage driver sporting a fancy car, blasting the loudspeaker of his or her Ferrari or Jaguar. You know, the 9 people who died in the accident, who were crushed under Tathya's car, had actually gathered at the flyover because of another accident. That accident too involved a teenage driver, a 16-year-old, who had crashed his father's Mahindra Thar into a bumper truck. Data from India's NCRB, or National Crime Records Bureau, states that in 2021, traffic accidents increased from around 368,000 to 422,000. Children below 18 contributed to 9.6% of fatalities. What gives? As a parent, the least we can do is tell our children to drive safely, because celebrating or normalizing unsafe driving, underage driving, cannot be our love language. Dear parents, I say this as a parent, please take note. Safe driving is non-negotiable. Like I said, I have plenty of dire warnings for you on the show tonight. Let's talk about another danger. It's not a weapon, but a trend. And one particular platform which is playing host to deadly trends, TikTok. TikTok trends are going out of hand day by day. We earlier told you about the Ozempic drug that made rounds on the platform. Now it seems people are consuming a toxic compound, and it's become a trend. We're talking about borax, a substance which is used for killing cockroaches and ants. Influencers are claiming that consuming borax can reduce symptoms of health issues. Doctors say that the substance is poisonous and should never ever be consumed. I can't believe we have to say this. Why are influencers trying to influence death? Is TikTok becoming a suicide portal? Take a look.
Smiling influencers showing the benefits of borax. Directions of how to consume the substance. Pointers on the right way to drink borax. Let's tell you the benefits of the substance known as borax. It helps clean your dirty laundry. The compound is used to wash kitchen supplies. Borax can also help kill insects like cockroaches. What it can also do is degrade your internal body parts. So it's no surprise that experts warn not to consume or let it touch your skin. But many people are ignoring what medical experts have to say and following the guidance of TikTok influencers. TikTok, infamous for absurd and dangerous trends, is encouraging users to put a potential laundry detergent in their mouth. According to several influencers, people should add a pinch of borax to their smoothies or coffee for health benefits. The powdery substance can allegedly reduce symptoms of arthritis, lupus, and other issues. Thousands of followers have advocated this practice. Let us remind you, we're talking about a substance which has been banned from food products in the US. Borax has chemicals that should be kept far from a person's mouth. The powdery substance is a combination of boron, sodium, hydrogen, and oxygen. The killer element is boric acid. If consumed, it can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, convulsions, and vascular collapse. Would you use laundry detergent to clean your mouth, or use bleach for aromatherapy? We know you wouldn't, but TikTok may soon convince people to do it. They earlier did it with Ozempic, the so-called miracle weight loss drug. Don't be mistaken, it's actually a drug for type 2 diabetes patients. But the trend led millions to buy the drug as they believed it helps in weight loss. Many countries are now facing a shortage of the diabetes drug. Diabetes patients who actually need the drug are left empty-handed. The wonder weight loss drug has serious side effects like gastrointestinal disorders, pancreatitis, and low blood sugar. But why worry about all that when losing weight is the priority, even if it could land you in hospital? TikTok users have always found ways to self-harm. Do you remember the Tide Pod challenge, a trend where users had to eat laundry detergent pods? We're not talking only about kids. Adults took part in this challenge. It came to a point where detergent companies had to warn people not to eat laundry detergent. We would also like to give some advice to TikTok users. Please don't treat yourself like washing machines. And please let diabetes patients have their medicine.
And before I end the show, I have to warn you about the catastrophe that is unfolding all around us. Even as I say this, I know how futile this warning is because we're living this catastrophe and it'll only get worse from this point on. The earth is burning up. Maybe up until this point, this would pass as a hyperbole, but not anymore. Let me tell you why. People in Arizona are getting third-degree burns by simply falling on the ground. The American state is battling a relentless heat wave. All through last week, mercury hit 46 degrees Celsius in the capital city of Phoenix. People were taken to emergency rooms with significant burns, life-threatening even. No, they had not sustained a house fire or got into an accident. All that happened was that they slipped and fell to the ground. On asphalt, to be specific. There are 45 beds at the Arizona Burn Center. Every single one of them is taken. 1/3 are occupied by patients who fell and burned themselves on ground. Some are even in the ICU. Can you even imagine? This is how bad it's become, the severity of the heat wave in Arizona. Can we even call it a heat wave anymore? The area has been hotter than ever. Asphalt ground is proving fatal for anyone whose bare skin comes into contact. Imagine that. You fall to the ground and get third-degree burns. While concrete is lighter and reflects some sunlight, asphalt is unforgiving. It is dark and dense. It absorbs heat and retains it well after the sun has stopped shining. So on a hot day such as this, asphalt can easily be 4 to 15 degrees Celsius hotter than air. When the temperature soared to 46 degrees Celsius in Phoenix, the asphalt ground was somewhere between 50 to 65 degrees Celsius. On hot summer afternoons, it sometimes jumps to 85 degrees Celsius. 85. Of course it is burning people. It needs only a fraction of a second to give a pretty deep burn. That's what reports are saying. Doctors in Arizona are astonished by the severity of these burns. They say that these burns, such as these, occur after people survive a house fire. For people who have been on the pavement for 10 to 20 minutes, the skin gets completely destroyed. The damage can go deep down. What if someone faints due to the intense heat and lands on asphalt? We can only imagine the horror. These are third-degree burns we're talking about. Patients have to go through multiple surgeries. They have to spend weeks or even months in the hospital, and even after that, have years of reconstructive surgery and therapy, all because of falling on the ground. In fact, even pets are sustaining burn. When dogs get back home from their daily walk, many show reluctance to stand up. Some keep licking their paws as the skin sloughs off. Who would have thought it would come down to this? But sadly, this is the reality. This is the state of the planet that we are living on. The earth is breathing fire. How long can we run away from it? It is catching up. Need I remind you of the wildfires in Greece? It has been raging on for a week now, and it isn't even close to being contained. The fires were earlier confined to the mountainous interior of the Rhode Islands, but strong winds have now fanned the blaze towards the coast. Some 20,000 people, mostly tourists, have been evacuated, and this happens to be the country's biggest evacuation effort in recent years. Just look at these visuals for a second. Swathes of land has been charred, buildings destroyed. Local residents are frustrated. They are teaming up to tackle the fire, and this is what they had to say.
It's really bad for the island. It's really bad. This is a disaster. This destroy all the islands, burn all the island. It doesn't stop. This is the bad thing. It doesn't stop. There is no end in this tragedy. There's no end. This is not when it's going to stop. Where's the help? Okay, where's the help? You see, now it's going to be in the village. All the houses for the people that are living here, friends, it's going to be burned.
Every year they say we will do. The things will be better. Nothing. Every summer the same. The same every summer.
Thousands have been forced to sleep rough, either at the island's airport or in other makeshift shelters. The government of Greece is now trying to douse the flame around the clock. This is what the Prime Minister said.
The next few days, especially today, tomorrow, Thursday, will be difficult days. After that, I hope that the conditions will help us more, and that is why we all obviously remain on high alert. Let me state the obvious, that in the face of what the entire planet is facing, especially the Mediterranean, which is a hotspot for climate change, there is no magic defense. If there was, obviously we would have implemented it.
Well, the blame is quite clearly on climate change. How many more forests or humans need to burn before we do something about it? As I wrap up the show tonight, I want you to think about that. That's a wrap on Gravitas. Thanks for watching with me, Priyanka Sharma, leaving you as always with Gravitas Images. I'll see you tomorrow.
WION.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person.